You, Program Director, Babu Zagwe. We go a long way in Alumnumzan. Hey, I don't want to expose him or expose ourselves, but we actually met a couple of times in interviews, long time ago. That's where we actually got to know each other. Greetings to Mapoloba, Slalo CIGFARO KZN, leadership of Salka, Yabona or Mfaniseni, no CFO Salka, Kabazela, all the members of CIGFARO, distinguished guest, Tulapa, Nama Financial, interns. I'll try to be very, very brief, probably try and use the miniskirt approach. It's also my system, by the way, I always use that. Now dealing with technicalities again after a nice session, I feel like I'm speaking out of context now. But be that as it may, my topic will be very brief on financial statements and monthly reporting, maybe mainly on financial statements than monthly reporting. I thought maybe just to give a brief roadmap about Umhlatuze. We've also been participating in the internship program since 2003. As a municipality, Umhlatuze, to those who don't know, it's a very nice city in Richards Bay. One of the biggest municipalities in this province. We were number 3, but I now understand from National Treasury that we're becoming number 2. In fact, we are number 2 now. Maybe the colleague will attest. So we have been participating in internship since 2003 as well. I think the statistics that I have is that to date we have employed about 26 financial interns in the finance department. Within that period, that we only had one intern that actually resigned during the program. That was in 2007. As of now, we have 7 interns. Normally, we have 6 interns a year because Treasury is very generous to us. They're giving us little more on the FMG. We're approaching 3 million a year, so we make use of it. Yeah, it's our friends here. So that's why we don't actually shy away from employing interns. We're very, very strict with the program. To date, we have actually absorbed about 18 interns permanently. So we do try. Within those interns, I have to brag. We have been doing a very good job with this program. I'm actually a product of it, so I must actually brag. Then two of the 18 interns are currently occupying very senior positions in the Department of Finance, including yours truly. And then 8 of those interns are in our middle management positions, your accountants, your chief accountants, and then the balance are doing financial administration duties as well. So we're actually proud of the record that we have, National Treasury. So you see, we don't waste your money. What we invest in, we try our best. We've never had an instance where we had an intern that ran out of contract and then they disappeared. We don't know where they went to. No. It's either they do like my sister saying, my 3 years is up, I'm done, I don't want to work here. Or if they still want to stay, we make sure they stay. Briefly, around our financial performance, I won't dwell much. With Umhlatuze, we've tried. Since 2013, we thought we were clever by getting what they now term as a clean audit. So for the past 5 years, we've been sailing nicely. Then come last year, they said, hang on now, no. you're getting too comfortable, then they just pitched us a little, so we never got our clean audit last year. We thought we were gunning for the 6th consecutive year. But it's not bad. You need to have a wake up at some point. Now, financial statements, I'll spend probably 10 minutes with this presentation and I'll sit down because it's in the afternoon. What informs the preparation of financial statements? Section 122 of the MFMA. I heard earlier you guys said you're familiar with it. Is it? MFMA. Okay. Yeah, it requires that every municipality must actually prepare IFS, annual financial statement, or a municipal entity. If you've got an entity, they are also required to do same by the MFMA. And then section 122, still subsection 3, it states that financial statements and consolidated statements must be prepared in accordance with GRAP. I heard GRAP being mentioned a few times. GRAP is actually prescribed in terms of the PFMA. I've forgotten the section, but it's in terms of the PFMA that says GRAP must be complied with. And then those financial statements, once they've been prepared, they must then be submitted to, how you know these things, guys, how? To the AG. I don't know if they're here yet, but I do know back in my municipality, they're bothering my colleagues as we speak. So you have 2 months. So if the financial year ends in June, then by your 31st of August, you must submit. You must. Then if you are a municipality that has an entity underneath, like our district, King Tachwayo, I heard someone from they've got an entity in the table in some municipalities, then you've got another month to then submit your consolidated financial statement. You remember consolidations from school? And then those financial statements at the end of the day, they form part of what is called the annual report. Now that big document that the municipality prepares, then the financial statements become part of they are an annexure of the AR. The components of the AFS, you will know, statement of financial positions. In our days, we were saying balance sheet. Now, yeah. Statement of financial performance, previously known as income statement, the list. Probably something that we encountered when we entered local government space that's different from what we learned is the statement of comparison of budget and actual amounts. Another complicated statement. Then the accounting officer is actually the one that signs off the financial statements as a preparer. Now my MM, when it's the 30th of August, now I take that certificate that he must sign. It reads, I am responsible for the preparation. Then he says, but you guys are making me lie. I can't even account for one ray. I don't know what you did here, but I must sign that I'm responsible. Yeah, believe it or not, the MFMA says he must sign. He is responsible for the preparation of those. Then the AG issues an opinion. There are different opinions that you get. You get your unqualified audit opinion with no matters, which they term as clean audit. Then you get your unqualified report with matters, which is sort of clean but not clean. In the private sector, they always laugh at us. You guys at local government, what is this clean audit? There's no such. If you get an unqualified, you're fine. Then in 2011, I think, when we had the former minister of culture that came with this clean audit. So we have clean audit in local government. Then another one, you get your qualified audit report. And then the worst one that you guys must make sure your municipality doesn't get. In fact, even the qualified and the adverse, but the disclaimer. I say over for it. You must try and shy away from the disclaimer. There was one municipality I heard it moved from clean to a disclaimer, and I couldn't believe it. I won't mention names. Then why we prepare financial statement, there are various users, guys, that are interested in the financial statements. There are many, I've just counted a few, like your consumers or your rate payers. They want to know, how have you been performing? We've been paying rate, how have you used the money? So they need that assurance from the AG. The financial institutions that you will lend money from, before they give you a loan, they'll ask you, give us your financial statements. National government and provincial departments, even those that give us grants, they want to see how we actually perform. And any investors that are coming to your city or your municipality, they want to know how this municipality performs. A few important aspects in your preparation of the AFS to achieve good results. Financial statements, they cannot be a year-end activity. You can't say, hey, now it's June, we must think about financial statements. Hey, disclaimer. You're just building yourself for disclaimer. So you need to plan very early, do your interims where it's possible. Lama records and they are very, very important, because you don't do your monthly record until you say, no, I'll wait for June. Come June, your bank recon has got 200 million unallocated. Where are you going to start? You've got 1 month. So make sure that you mustn't just wait for year end. And then it is highly recommended that those AFS must be prepared internally, guys. With due respect to any consultants here. Okay, I don't see. We must try. You know what? If I tell you my story, I was an intern in 2000. I started in 2006. In 2007, I said, when I moved to the expenditure section, we were rotating, luckily. Then I said, who's doing financial statements for the municipality? Then they showed me a very old man. I said, how? Is he doing financial statements? He said, yeah, and he doesn't want anyone near him. When he does them, he closes his door, no one speaks to him. I said, I want to be with him. I took that initiative. Obviously, there were challenges, but I persisted. So that's why my passion for financial, you know, when you come from universities, you want to know what's the balance sheet of a municipality. So I persisted. Every morning I came to him. You know, the issue of copies, I said, even if I make copies of journals, I don't mind. So then he took me seriously. So it's very important that we do it internally, guys. If you've got consultants, it's not bad, but let's try then to have the knowledge sharing. They mustn't be there permanently. 2 years is fine. So it's very important, guys. Also, your reviews must be done internally, ideally by the CFO first. Then your internal audit and audit com. And then try and also to adhere to your grab checklist. There's one nice grab checklist that was developed by NT. It tells you once you've done your draft, look, are you ticking the boxes and whatnot. And then lastly, try and be up to date with your grab standard. Someone mentioned it here. And also your FAQs, frequently asked questions, from the ASB website. It's very useful. You know, you'll find that you backlink with a certain issue, you go to an FAQ, they've got the answer for you. How do you treat rainwater? You go there, there's a question specifically about that, so it's actually a useful element. Monthly reporting, I won't dwell much on this. I'm sure you guys, most of you are preparing this report. When I joined, it's one of the things that they said, interns do this for us, so do them. But it's actually required by Section 71 of the MFMA that the accounting officer again, he must submit to the mayor and relevant PT and NT those reports within 10 working days. So it's him. Everything reform. Do you know who's the accounting officer, by the way? Who? You know, I failed that question when I had my intern interview back then. Accounting officer, CFO. They had an option. CFO, MM, I can't remember, son. I said, CFO. Wrong. So there's quite a few of reports that are submitted, like your C schedules or monthly budget tables. I'm sure you're preparing those, datas, your CAA, your cash flow. It's quite a lot that are being prepared currently. But those returns that I've mentioned, with the exception of the C schedules, they are falling away now. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Hey, you guys are up to date, eh? Yeah, so those returns are falling away from July due to M-score. So NT said normal, NT. They're making our lives easier, so they'll be extracting now the data streams directly from our system, so then they'll populate those returns. So they're making life very easy. However, we as municipalities, we must still continue to submit your monthly reports to your mayor and your councillors for management reporting. So that does not exempt you from not submitting that. It's still required. Then what happens once Treasury receives all these reports that you're preparing of all these municipal budget statements, and then they publish them within 30 days of each quarter. So before they publish, they normally send that information for verification. They say, okay, you guys have submitted reports for these 3 months, please verify before we publish. So that you get an opportunity when you say, no, we actually spent 1 million in overtime, but you've actually spent 2 million, you can correct that before they publish those information. That information. There's also Section 72 information where in December, which is called a mid-year assessment, which says that the accounting officer again. So hey, these guys, they get paid for doing a lot. They don't. I know they don't, they delegate. So we see when Mapolova says, make me a cup of tea, he's delegating. Luckily, I was never asked as an intern. But you know the interesting story, I was asked to be a secretary. They thought I was going to refuse, but then I said, no, it's fine, I'll do it. They said, hey, damn, this guy's attitude is positive. So, yeah, make that tea, guys, now and then, please. So the accounting officer by 25th of January is required to do an assessment of how the municipality is performing for the 6 months. And he must make recommendations, say, hey, based on our performance, we then propose that we have an adjustment budget. It doesn't necessarily mean that every year they must. We can say, no, we're fine, no adjustment budget required. But if I can ask you how many municipalities don't do that, probably zero. I'm not sure NT will comment. Every time, adjustment budget. So, poor planning perhaps. So then such a report as well on Section 72, it must be submitted to the mayor, National Treasury and the relevant provincial treasury. In fact, to Treasury, they normally come around, I'm not sure with other municipalities, with us we assess directly by NT. So in February they come and say, yeah, this is how we've performed for the 6 months. Are we happy or we're not happy? One thing they did for us, Mr. NT, that we were not happy, they took away our grant. Not the FMG, fortunately. The infrastructure skills one. You know, we had interns for infrastructure. They said, hey, you guys are not performing for the 6 months. We're taking away this program, moving it to Etewini. So they do that assessment. So those reports are very important, colleagues, because they inform even the financial muscle that you get from NT. If you're not performing or you're submitting incorrect data, you might find yourself being stripped away of your funds. Program Director, thank you very much. I'm sure I was a mistake.